Good afternoon. My name is James Langridge and I am the president of the British American Business Council here in Los Angeles, and welcoming you back again for another exciting podcast today. Once again, we have two wonderful guests on the line today, and we're going to pass it straight over to them now. Good afternoon. We have Keri White and we have Jason Vanderpoort. Keri White is a real estate extraordinaire with the agency group. Let her tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. And we have the mortgage maestro, Jason Vanderpoort himself. Keri, please take a second to introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for the kind introduction. Yes, I work at the agency. I've been there about 5 years now. Been doing real estate for 17 years, which is crazy. Work with the traditional residential buyers and sellers, condos, homes on the west side and the valley. Just first-time buyers, repeat buyers, sell and buy. So we work a lot with really nice people around here that need to find a home. I've got a team with me, a couple agents who work with buyers. And yeah, we're just rocking and rolling, especially right now.
Wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
How about you, Jason? How's your day going?
My day is going well in these crazy times. It is busy, though. My name is Jason Vanderpoort, and I've been in the mortgage business since 1996. So I don't know how many years that is now. So it's been a while.
You've seen quite a few changes, I'm sure.
I was just going to say I've seen some changes. I went through, some ups and some downs when rates were great. When they were 6.5%, everybody loved it. So definitely seeing a lot going on in this market. We'll get through just like we've been through all the rest of them. So it's very busy right now. Rates are still incredibly low, so we can talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I work for a direct lender, and I can it's kind of like the best of all worlds. I can go through my own company, or I can actually broker out if I need to. So I try to find the client the best deal. I think that's why me and Keri work so well together, because Keri is so adamant of finding her clients the best deal for them financially, and that's why I get involved to see what we can do to help them.
So tell me, it sounds like you're both very busy right now, which is fantastic, especially at the moment. Tell me more about that. Is now a good time to buy? Is now a good time to sell? What are your thoughts on that?
As far as buying goes, the big thing is that in California, we're in a housing shortage. They would have to build 4 times what they're building right now to keep up. They have issues with density. We have overpopulation. The millennials now are the largest percentage of buyers ever. They're bigger than the baby boomers. So to get a house, especially here in LA, is very challenging. It's very competitive. There's so many new jobs coming in with the tech industry. So buyers right now who have been struggling to find something they can afford, who have been struggling competing with other buyers, they are going in head first right now, and they're using every opportunity to get into a home without so much competition. So they're expecting Goldman Sachs and Fannie Mac, they're all expecting to have a deep V. So we'll go down in Q2 and then shoot back up drastically in Q3 and Q4. So that's what we're expecting. As far as a seller, I'm not too sure yet. I'm not seeing the deep discounts for buyers yet, maybe next month, but I'm saying for buyers, full steam ahead.
So what's your advice to them right now, Keri? If people should just maintain the price? It's competitive, so you're saying people are offering more than the asking price still at the moment?
Yeah, it depends on where it's priced at. If it's priced low or competitively, yeah, it's usually going over. If it's been on the market a while, it's usually just not priced too accurately. But we're just opening escrow on something today that it was just listed Sunday, and they had 10 people come to see it Monday with masks and gloves and everything. 10 people one day. That's during insane. Shelter at home, and we got acceptance today.
Well, congratulations. What's your strategy for the next 6 to 12 months? Have you given it much thought ahead to see what's going to change? We're seeing a lot of unemployment. How is that going to affect the way that you market your properties?
It's a good question. I don't see us, of course, we have the new normal, which talks about the safety protocols for how we're showing properties with the virtual tours, Matterport 3D. And then, of course, we can't do open houses anymore, so we do Instagram Live, Facebook Lives, where we're really trying to be careful of the shelter in place. Of course, this will be lifted soon enough, but things will still be a little bit different. What I like about it is you're getting more serious people now you're not just getting looky-loos. If people want to see property, they need to show their approval letter and their proof of funds. And that, in LA, we have a lot of looky-loos and weirdos. So that's actually something that's extremely nice. The tough side, which Jason can go into, is financing. So they've just eliminated 10% down for everybody except for Chase. Citibank. So that is, one of the biggest things for our clients is if they're buying something that's maybe $1.5 million to $2 million, their 10% down option could save them $200,000 to $400,000 down. So with that being eliminated, we may see some changes there in the jumbo market.
Yeah, that's a big difference there. Yeah. Jason, what are you what are your thoughts on that? How are we going to strategize around that? How are you still going to be able to offer mortgages to clients who don't have the down payment?
Yeah, so it's challenging. There's a lot of lenders that pulled back, or they're calling it suspending programs that they used to have. Wells Fargo kind of led the charge here, and then Chase and a bunch followed suit. So we're talking about jumbo loans, right? So a jumbo loan in Los Angeles County is typically any loan that's over $765,000, right? So once you go below that, you can still do Fannie and Freddie type loans, and they'll allow as low as 5% down. So those are still available. But when you have a lot of clients that are buying $1 million, $2 million properties, they're going to do 10% down, right? Okay, well, if they don't have any more money, then they might have to wait, right? They're going to have to save up to that 20% down unless they can meet the guidelines of just a few lenders that are out there. We mentioned one of being Citibank, and there's stricter guidelines, right? There's, debt to income ratios they have to meet. They have to bring $50,000 over to that bank to open up a savings or checking account just to get that loan. There are a couple other investors that are still doing it as well. They'll do like a first and a second type loan, but the rates are a little bit higher. So people, of course, want the best rate that they can get. But sometimes if they can't get that, they might have to opt out to maybe one or two of these other lenders, assuming they can meet their qualification guidelines. And we could really get deep into the weeds. Not sure if we want to do that on this type of call, but it goes into a lot of stuff like reserves and FICO credit scores and income. And so it's pretty much mortgages is like a pieces to the puzzle that you kind of have to put together. The best thing you can do is just, as Keri is great at doing it, put the clients in front of a mortgage banker and really have them pre-approve them up front to make sure what they're qualified for so they can go out and figure out what they can buy and purchase, whether it's now or 6 months down the road.
That's great. That's very interesting. So do you expect that those restrictions to be eased in the next 6 to 12 months, or do you think it's going to get stricter?
That's a $63,000 question, right? So,
right. Yeah.
It's tough to say. I personally think it's going to trickle back. I think because just like the economy, when everything reopens, I just don't think everybody's rushing to restaurants, sporting events. Are people going to, I'm already hearing restaurants are going to have their own social distancing within the restaurant. That's probably less turnover. People not sitting as close to each other. So it's going to affect the economy. So I think banks are going to do the same thing. We have the full forbearance thing, which that's a whole nother issue, right, that you get into as well. So I think they're going to, dip their toes in the water, but it could take a little bit of time. And could they constrict? It's possible. Citibank, all the board of directors could get together and say, guess what? We're going to get rid of our 10% down as well, next month. Who knows, right? I hope not, because I have a lot of clients that love that program, but it's definitely, one of those things that we just don't know, right? It's hard to say. And we're still living through it, here in mid to late April, and we're not sure when we're actually reopening. May 15th, they're saying LA County, but people think it could go farther. Who knows? We're hoping, but...
Yeah, gosh, I hope not. It's it definitely is a different change of pace right now, and I think really what everyone is... The unanswered question on the question you can't answer is, what's the new normal going to look like? Keri, do you think you'll ever show a home again in person, or do you think it's all going to be virtual from going forward?
It's different because the homes, fortunately, right now that we've been selling are vacant, and that is allowed. As far as, or if there's families there or kids, it's definitely a bit of a different story, or elderly. So just been lucky there are a lot of homes, second homes being sold, or investor homes, flips. I'm not sure what things will look like. So far, it's still been busy. I don't know in 2-3 months from now. could look a lot different with people. But I do know people that have job transfers that are waiting to put their home up, that are asking, they have kids and they're asking, how do we do this? What do we do? So it could be a matter of doing the virtual tour, making sure they're approved, and then letting people go in almost like they're in a bubble we give them gloves, we give them masks, they don't touch anything, they walk around. And that'll be the only way they can really see the home, to make sure that everybody is safe involved, because the problem is, real estate is essential. People, the roof over their heads, it can't be determined based on the economy or what's happening. It's people's livelihood. They need somewhere to come home to. They have reasons to be moving. There's death, divorce. Could you imagine being shelter in place with somebody you're getting divorced with? That would be pretty rough. So you see, there is my owner of my company actually brought that up on a meeting.
There will be a movie about that.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be some funny movies coming out after all this. So there's definitely a need that can't just be shelter in place. People have to move. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's always the way with housing. The people break apart, get together, families grow, move, everything. So I totally understand that. But given this climate, do you think we're going to see more of LA? Is a lot of renters in Los Angeles, and it could be just because of the down payment is so expensive, or a multitude of other reasons. Do you expect the rental market to increase because of this? Is there anything that people should be, so for someone who's renting right now and thinking, should they be saving to buy a house, or should they just run with it for now and continue to rent? What is your advice? Both of you guys, what's your advice to them for that?
I'll let Keri go first then.
Always buy. And the reason, not because I sell real estate, the reason is, you think if you're a renter right now and you can't pay your rent and you're trying to take advantage of these helpful programs, but if you're doing it in the wrong way, if you don't pay your rent and then the owner doesn't pay their mortgage, you're left homeless. So if you're the owner of the home, you can always control the fact that you have a shelter over your head. And if you own multiple properties right now, you can always sell one or two of them. But the thing is, when you're a renter, you don't have control, you don't have rights, you don't have a guarantee. And if you're paying a low rent and this owner needs to move in or sell it, and then you can't afford other rents elsewhere, again, you become homeless, you have to move out of the area. So I think it's important to get your foot in the door with something purchase-wise. The other important thing to note is that 67% of American homeowners have equity in their homes. I believe it's like 30-something% have zero mortgage, so they own them outright. So there's a lot of wealth and a lot of equity that homeowners in America are sitting on. So could you imagine in these situations being able to use that money, pulling out money from your house, or just having that safety net? You're never guaranteed that as a renter, ever.
No, I think Keri definitely nailed it on the head. There's a lot of people doing cash out refinances to get through these tough times, right?
Yeah.
So banks are doing their due diligence, but if you have that equity, which a lot of people have equity, as she mentioned, they can pull that out and get through these tough times. You can't do that as a renter, right? So, and it's kind of a proven model. If you look back in history, homeowners build wealth, right? So, and being in Los Angeles too, there are, some people, they should rent, they need to rent. Not everybody needs to be a homeowner. Not everybody's responsible enough. Not everybody, has the wherewithal. Maybe they get there though, if they get, some good education and training. I think a lot of times too, rents are very high in Los Angeles, right? So a lot of times people can be renting for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. Like, wait, you should be owning a property. Let's look at that. So there's all kinds of tools we can look at, rent versus buy flyer. You can see, okay, if you own a property, is the payment the same as you're renting? Oh, it is. Okay. Oh, and maybe it's a starter home, which sounds expensive everywhere else across the country, but maybe it's $600,000, $700,000, but they can do an FHA government loan with 3.5% down or 5% down. They could save that probably rather quickly, and then they can get into a home with a lower down payment, assuming they qualify. But there's a lot of different ways of looking at it versus a lot of people just get frustrated and say, I'll never be able to buy, but, people that they can save a little bit and still get into the market, and then they build that wealth and they sell that property to buy into another property. So it's a lot of different ways of looking at it, and you just got to put on those rose-colored glasses and make sure you're looking at it correctly too. And I think somebody that's great is like Keri that explains that to people. And sometimes, we've worked with clients together and they don't buy for 3 years. It's like time flies, like, wow, it's been 3 years, and next thing you know, they're buying. But we got into that position, right?
I've known Keri for a long time, and I know you've done this for a long time, so I'm sure you have customers from way back up until now.
Yeah.
You brought up an interesting point. Any advice to people right now, homeowners and renters, We're hearing on the news, talk about deferring your payments, speak to your mortgage company, speak to the banks, speak to your landlords. I'm sure you've had some questions fielded to you about this. What's your advice? Is it best just to keep paying it? Because ultimately you're going to have to pay your rent and mortgage at some point.
Yeah, so it's a tough question. If you really can't make your payments, that's what it's there for. That's the point. But if you can make your payments, you should make your payments. What I'm hearing, and this just came out today, it was breaking news. So what was happening here in the mortgage world is there's what's called servicers, right? So basically an example is Wells Fargo does the loan, and then there's another party, company that services the loan. So when you make your mortgage payments, you pay it to Mr. Cooper or ABC servicers. So these servicers are getting hit hard because what happens is when somebody that owns a property doesn't make that payment, that servicer still has to make that payment to the investor. So now they're caught with liquidity problems because they have to pay all this money when the money's not coming in. So what's happening is the FHFA, the GSEs, government entities, sponsored entities are stepped in and finally said, okay, well, we'll give you forbearance, you servicers for 4 months. So you just need to flip the bill for 4 months. And then after that, we will save you. We'll jump in. Before they didn't know, it could have gone on for a year. We don't know. So that's helping our liquidity a lot because what would happen is if they did jump in, these servicers could go belly up and then you're going to have a lot of problems with mortgage-backed securities and things could just go. And you're talking about not lending. That's when you're not lending anymore because the bank's going to go, why am I going to give you a loan? You're not going to pay me back. And banks are not in the business of holding on to properties. They don't like short sales, REOs, that's foreclosures. That's not what they're in the business for. So I tell people, if you can make your payments, please make your payments. And James, you bring up a good point. If you're not going to make it now, you're going to have to make it. I tell people to call their servicer to figure out how they're going to do it because there was rumors that you had to pay it. Let's say you had a forbearance for 4 months in a row and then 5th month comes up, you can make your payment. You got your job back. People are like, oh my God, you didn't make a balloon payment. So 5 payments in 1 month. Okay, nobody can do that. It's not going to happen. So they're basically probably going to tack it on to the end of the loan on the principal, but then they might say, okay, or there's a payment plan. We'll increase your mortgage, for the next 12 months by this amount, and it'll be paid off by then, type of thing. So there's different ways they can look at it. But the one thing I'm hearing, and I still do not have any clarification on this, and this is very important, actually, Keri, I was going to tell you about this. I just heard this about an hour before we got on the call, is that right now, if you have a person that owns a property, and let's say they do a forbearance for 3 months, and then they want to refi in 8 months down the road, or they want to sell it and then buy a property, the banks are saying, even though when you do a forbearance, it will not affect your credit score, but they're going to treat it as a missed mortgage payment. So that means that in the typical lending world, they will not give you a loan for 12 months from that last missed mortgage payment. So I guarantee you people will be in up arms and upset if this happens because then you got a person wants to sell and they can't buy and they got to wait 12 months from May till next May or whatever it may be when they miss that payment. So we're trying to get more clarification on that. We just don't know. And that's kind of the new thing that's going on right now. That's scary when you think about it.
That's very scary. They were talking about that at our agency meeting that was at 1:30 today about that. So I was going to talk to you about that. That's, I feel like it's a way to encourage people that can make their payments to make their payments.
Yeah.
If people really, if people are really struggling right now, they probably won't be in a position to buy, but that's a little scary fact.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. It's one thing missing a mortgage payment. I understand that. And I guess, especially what's going on, no one's ever experienced what we're going through right now. But everyone in America has credit score. And that's possibly going to take a hammering right now as well. How much is that going to count towards a bank or a lender making a decision in the next few months? Let's say there are people take a hit on their credit. They're using their credit cards more. Their debt ratio is up. Is there going to be some sort of forgiveness from the banks when deciding on giving a loan or a mortgage, do you think?
So my guess is probably not. They're going to keep their guidelines as their guidelines. So, I think what they're saying to everybody is it's not going to hurt your credit score if you miss a payment. So your scores will still be good. But you bring up a good point, James, is your debt to income ratios and qualifying. So if somebody's maxing their credit card, it's going to hurt your credit score because the more you're maxed out, then your core score drops, say from a 780 to a 720 or whatever it may be. And then you might not be able to fall within those guidelines of certain loan programs. So yeah, if they're going to max themselves out, then they might just have to wait. I don't think banks are going to loosen up for that, to be honest with you. But the people like Keri was saying, they like the forbearance because they came out right away and say it's not going to affect your credit. That's great, but then they kind of are thinking, wow, a lot of people are doing this forbearance that really shouldn't be doing this forbearance, and so people are taking advantage of that. People that need it, they need it, and they're probably not going to be in a position to buy anyways. They got to clean themselves up. They got to be back in that position.
Right.
Because our job is to really be there as advocates for people to build wealth and get into a property that makes sense for them. And if they need to get out, then guess what? We wait a year or two. That's fine. Get you and your family in the right position. It's not about just selling real estate and doing mortgages for now. We look at the long haul to really put these people in good positions. That's why we've been doing it probably for a while and have a lot of referral business. So, like I said, some people just need to take a little bit more time, not just force it down their throats. That's what happened in the 2008 crisis. Banks were giving loans to pretty much anybody that had a pulse and a credit score. And it was like, zero down and, interest only and neg am loans. And then all of a sudden, they wonder why we have a housing bubble. So this is different. This isn't a liquidity crisis, per se, with the mortgage industry. This is a health crisis, pandemic. It's hurt everybody, because they can't go to work. So this is more, to me, kind of like a 9/11 type of thing. So we will open up, as Keri mentioned earlier, we have the V curve. I think it was Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, and another big institution were talking about that. Some are talking about the V curve, which means, we'll get back up to where we were in Q3, maybe Q4. And then there's some banks that think we'll do more of a U curve and we'll kind of trickle it up a little bit. We'll still get there, but it's going to be more of a U curve. So nobody knows. We just got to live through it.
I heard the same thing. My husband was on a Zoom call with the broker, Jesse Rodriguez, and actually Tom Ferry was on that. Tom Ferry. And they were talking about the V curve and the U curve. It's kind of what all the economists are saying that they're predicting, which these are all the same economists that predicted the housing recession in 08, 09. These aren't just people that are saying real estate's great. They predict the ups and the downs and have predicted the negative times that happened back then. And they're all saying that things are going to drop, but they're going to be very, very busy and the market's going to be very good afterwards. I think we're just dealing with overpopulation and lack of building is these baby boomers that had all these millennials, which I'm a millennial too, but it's a bigger population. And when you've got, not to be political, but you've got governors that won't approve building and density bonuses, then we just get stuck. Like, we need more space. We need more space to live. We're more people now, and they're just missing that at the top for some reason. So I don't think there's going to be any type of crash. It's not super affordable to live in LA as it is. And I feel like if you don't get in now, it's going to be even more challenging if your income is not increasing, especially if they're wiping out 20%, 10% down loans.
Yeah, and I think Keri mentions a good point there because real estate, as we know, is hyper-local. So in the areas that you're selling, real estate, from what I've heard is they said, because as Keri mentioned earlier about supply and demand, that demand is there, but that supply is not there. So they're, like she said, 4 times behind building. I think I heard a statistic that if 30% of the buyers dropped out today, which that could be due to everything going on, 30% drop out, you're still not going to have enough supply for them to get in. So it's still going to be competitive. So thus the prices remain the same. And I did a webinar a few days ago where if you look at, there's recessions. Actually, a lot of times in recessions, prices go up on properties. You can actually Google that and see prices on a recession go up. I think the only time the prices on homes went down was, I believe, 1991.
Do you think there'll ever be an oversupply of houses in LA?
In LA.
I don't know. Unless the virus wipes people out.
I don't think.
Well, hopefully not. Let's hope not.
Let's hope not.
That'd be the only reason. And at first, when this was happening, some people were saying, maybe this is helping with overpopulation. Maybe this is what this is supposed to happen. This is like, the profits or something crazy. But unless they start building, look in Santa Monica. How many places have an ocean view? I'm looking at rooftops. I'm on the 4th floor, looking at rooftops out here right now. There's a lot of, it's not New York City around here, which not saying we want it to be, but it's all in the building. But,
So I have some questions for you guys. We've got some questions that have been handed over to me.
From the fans? Okay, we're ready.
Pardon me?
From the fans, questions? We're ready.
Lots of, yeah. You both have many fans. So I have So I have a friend who stages homes, okay, and the shelter in place has disrupted their business immensely. In your opinion, how important is it to have a home staged just to remain competitive in the market and to really for a seller to get the money they really want for the property? How important is it to stage the house, and how is that being affected right now?
It's very important. Staged homes sell, I believe, 65% faster than non-staged homes. And the reason why that is, we're in a different era right now. We are in Pinterest. Everybody wants their home to look like West Elm and Pottery Barn. And everybody is sharing the home that they're buying with their friends. So they want it to look good. So there is no normal anymore of just puffing the pillows. They want everything to look perfect. And as Leslie Appleton Young, who's the CEO, I think, of CAR, she said, it's a Pinterest premium is what they've called it. So people pay more if the property looks like it could be on Pinterest. So as far as staging, it's critical. Even versus a vacant home, we've seen stats that if you have a vacant home with beautiful photos, it still doesn't sell as quick or for as much money as a staged home. With the shelter in place, it's definitely challenging for stagers. Again, it works with vacant homes. We're socially distancing, seeing a new listing on Monday, and she wants to stage it. So she's asking us the same question. It's like, well, are you willing to move most of your things out and maybe get a hotel or possibly move to your next home quicker? Because it's going to be hard you can't stage it and quarantine it and come back. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but we haven't really seen it yet. I did hear on the office meeting today that a stager wouldn't pick up their furniture from a house because of shelter in place. But I think for the most part, we haven't seen the effects of that yet. But staging is very important regardless.
Routine is important in everybody's lives. Whether you're selling or not, or in business or not, everyone's routine has changed right now. We've had to find a new routine. A lot of people who are up and at 'em and outside, a lot are now at home. How has that affected you, and how important to you was it to find a new routine?
Wow, that's a good question. It's affected me quite a bit, actually. It's great, though. I'm kind of looking at it as a blessing in disguise because I get to spend more time with my family. But it's tough, because there's a lot of times when, clients can only talk at certain times, to be on the phone, got emails pouring in, in real estate transactions, things move fast. You got to be on top of it. So, text and emails and calls. So we've got a little 2-year-old that demands a lot of our time because school's out, right? So we've got to kind of juggle. As I said earlier, my wife has her own business too, so she's busy just as well. So we kind of flip-flop. We kind of come up with a system that works for us to where, I might do the morning shift into his nap and then she'll do the afternoon shift. And so, I'm still working. Sometimes if he's downstairs, I feel bad, but like iPad, here's the iPad. I'll do some work, but it's been tough. I think when we come through all of this, I think a lot of people are probably going to be very, very good at time management because of all this that they crunched. And with all this pressure, wow, now I'm back out into the real world. I probably could do more than I used to do. Maybe I was lazy before. I don't know. That's the way my personal that I'm feeling because it's gosh, how am I able to get all this thing? You just got to do it. You just have no choice. You just got to push through. So it's definitely taken a toll on us. And I believe me, we'll have a nice glass of wine at the end of the night just to relax because we need it. It's, because it's been, one of those, challenging days, but we're very thankful we have jobs. We know a lot of people are going through a lot of difficult challenges and times right now. So we look at that as hey, we don't want to complain. We just got to do it, go through it. Of course, we're human. It's going to be tough. But yeah, we definitely had to, restructure a lot of stuff. And it's hard not seeing family, not seeing your parents, not seeing your brothers and sisters and, friends. So, that makes it challenging too, your sanity. So we try to do Zoom calls and happy hours and family calls and how's everybody doing type of stuff too. I think that's important.
Trying to find at-home workouts was probably my only challenge because I'm a big workout junkie. So finding all these little apps and not knowing what you're in for, you get ready for a class and it's totally opposite. But I find it's a time to really buckle down into being grateful because, hey, we get to work from home, which is, it can be a lot easier in some ways than getting up, getting dressed, going to the office every day and dealing with all that. So I find for anybody who's I don't know, not appreciative of that opportunity. It's one thing, like, we could be sick, we could be in hospitals, we could be caring for people who are sick. It's a good chance to upgrade your house afterwards if you're not happy during your shelter in place. But our lives, we have it much easier than, maybe our parents or our grandparents who fought in the wars and people who have served for us. There's firefighters. One of my best friend's sister is a nurse, dealing with COVID patients day in, day out, working these 40, 50-hour shifts with one mask. And, my heart just goes out to people like that. So it's definitely not a time for feeling entitled. I just feel really, really grateful. I'm not just BSing that, saying this. Like, I have not complained. Like, sometimes I'm like, I just need some space. I need a girlfriend. But it's really just a little bit of venting. Like, overall, like, it's a time to be very appreciative of our lives and our health and what we do have. And when this is all lifted and we get to go to restaurants and happy hours and hug our friends, it's going to be like bananas. It's going to be like Disneyland. Vegas will come to LA at that point. It's going to be fun.
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
I love that. And yeah, routine is, we all need it. So that's great. That's a great answer. Jason,
get an accountability buddy, I guess, right now for your morning. Like, do extra meditation or extra time frame, connect with somebody, be accountable, but make an extra effort on your morning mindset, I think.
I love that. Do you meditate?
I try to.
Do you prefer guided meditation or do you just meditate?
Yeah,
What's
I like
your preference?
The Breathe app. They do guided ones, and you can do it for weight loss, losing a loved one, relationships, anxiety, focus, sleep. It's a cool one. I think it's like $100 for the year. I love it.
Oh, wonderful. Jason, do you meditate?
I try to at times, yeah.
Very nice.
If I could do a better job.
Hey, we all could, but it's the attempt that you're making that's the biggest part of it. So I congratulate you. Jason, what's your definition of success?
I'm kind of drawing a blank here because before the definition of success is kind of like how you are successful with your work and your income. But there's a term that I've heard, and I'm drawing a blank right now, where success versus significance. So success typically is measuring of the things that you do to make you successful. Significance is making a difference in people's lives and helping them and how you become significant and add value to them. So I used to sometimes answer like, oh, I'm successful when I'm helping other people. But really, no, my personal take is I'm successful from the things I've built, from the hard work that I've done. But sometimes I like to be significant just as much or more than successful, because that leads to the success of being significant is in significance that you're helping people get to their homeownership or just helping your family with whatever it may be, right? So it's kind of an interesting question you put, because I've just thought about that as of recent. My definition has switched on.
Oh, I love that. So it's almost like if you're being of service to someone that makes you,
Exactly.
I love that. That's great. It's kind of like, how do you become happy? Well, if you find things that you're grateful for and thankful for, it's a path to happiness. Very interesting. How about you, Keri?
Yeah, I agree. It's really about, we can't all be of service. We're not service providers, but I look at like a bike wheel, the spokes, and all the areas in your life, whether it's health, your career, your friendships, your relationships, your physical body, your spirituality. When all those are full, that to me defines success, because there are times where you just dive yourself into your career, but maybe you're not present in your relationship. Or there's times in my career where I've been so busy that it's hard for me to pick up the phone and call my mom, or I'm like late to dinner, and those are times I definitely learned, get it together. You've got nothing without your people. So to me, success is having all those spokes full and having a car that can drive well with those full tires, and just trying to be a little bit better every day, trying to be a better person to others, and just being a really honest, ethical agent and friend, and just trying to be the best and not taking other things personally, so you can just keep being a better part of this society. That to me is success.
No, I love that. So I have one more question in kind of that kind of frame. We don't always start out as kids and think in the future what we want to be. I didn't grow up thinking I was going to sell copiers for the rest of my life, but hey, that's what I do.
Doing a good job of it.
Do you think you found this role because this is what you've always wanted to do, or is this more of something that it found you? and you've adopted it, and now you own it. I'm going to ask you first, Keri.
I did not dream of being a real estate agent. I don't know. I started young with my dad, and I guess I just kind of rolled into it. And it's more, I always wanted to be some kind of public speaker or performer of some kind. So I get a little bit of that in being an agent because of all the marketing and videos. So I do get a little bit of that performance, and I speak at events and give back. And so there's a little bit of that I've adapted in real estate, but it's definitely a career where you can take it all different ways as far as the investment side and team building, because I'm good with clients. The team side has been an interesting thing to learn the last 4 or 5 years. Jason knows the many assistants. He's like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. You're working with Keri. I'm like, thank you for always being so positive. So it's a whole different side of it. So it's a career that takes many shapes, and it will continue to change as we're going into this technological era. Now we're going into this new world. So I think it's a career that it has so many different facets, and it's taught me so much about myself and my life, and it brought me to my husband, my career too. So things are only getting better, but yeah, not something I dreamed of being when I was young.
Got it. I understand. Oh, great. And how about you, Jason?
Yeah, it was definitely nothing I thought of either. I
Pro
was
soccer player.
Graduated college and wasn't sure, okay, well, what I'm going to do now, because I actually went to school. I was going to originally be a physical therapist. That was the plan, right? So I took all the classes, did all that, and then I did some internship at a UC San Diego Medical Center and figured, I don't think I want to do this. So kids, do internships. It'll tell you if you really want to do the job or not. It helps.
Smart.
And so I graduated college, like, what am I going to do? So I waited tables for a little bit and talked to one of my really good friends and said, hey, my brother's a mortgage broker. He's looking for an assistant. Would you like to, try it out? I'm all, sure. But what do you mean mortgage broker? I thought if people got a home loan, they just walked into their bank. So no, there's a whole different world out there. And I learned it and kind of just fell into it. Kind of like you said, adopted me, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with all the people. I love being around people, talking to people, and it was just like, wow, this is actually really cool. And you can actually make a good living doing this and have some fun with it. Of course, there's some crazy times you go through, but it can be fun. And the rest was history. And kind of launched from there. And, now here we are, 2020.
I love
anywhere.
That. Yeah.
God, what great answers. It's funny that they said there's 3 kinds of roles. There's a job, a career, or a calling. Now, I don't know if mortgage selling is a calling and selling houses is a calling, or selling copiers is a calling. But it sounds like we all have the similar thing in common, that we all deal with people and we're good with people. And maybe that's the thing that excites. Does that excite you, working with people? Is that the most exciting part of the role for both of you?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely the people. And when I send people over to Jason, it's always like, this person is awesome. You're going to love them. They're like this person. They're referred from this person. And like when we have super awesome clients and they refer us other awesome clients, it just makes our day. It makes things so much easier when they call and they're thankful, or they're shy about their questions versus those people that just don't trust you, don't want to put their deposit in escrow, the nightmare people, which luckily I don't get many of them anymore. But yeah, that's
good. No, it's very nice and refreshing to hear. Okay, so going back to the housing, specifically housing. People are watching the market now, 6 months, 12 months. We talked about different things that we can be doing, but is there a couple? What's your advice? Is there a couple of things people can be doing specifically in preparation? If people are saving their money, keep saving it for that dream home. Don't give up. Don't give up on it. Anything that comes to mind that you could specifically tell the listeners today?
Well, I think, yeah, with Jason on like the financial side, because a lot of times people need to be set up much sooner. So thoughts on savings and credit, and the 7 deadly sins of loans, I think would be helpful.
So I think the first and foremost thing is definitely just have people, a lot of people seem to be scared for whatever the reason may be to talk about their finances. And I get it, but they're afraid to talk about it and to dive in. And so I try to make them feel as comfortable as possible. And I tell people it's just all free consultation. Sometimes it's almost easier when they talk to somebody like me that they don't know versus my friend's friend, or, that they know rather well. They dive into their finances. I've done loans for friends, and sometimes that's the toughest loan. Yeah, because not that it's a hard loan, but it's like you're dealing with somebody's finances, and like it's a different level of getting to know somebody. You really know all their personal stuff. So, But I just think that people, if they can, feel comfortable and confident to get over that, they should dive in and look at their finances, whether they're good or bad, just to figure out where they're at now. And then we help them structure to get it down the road. And they might not have to save as much as they think. They might not. A lot of people think they'll go, oh, Jason, I'll talk to you in 6 months. I want to pay off all my debt. Hold on a second. You might not have to pay off all. As a matter of fact, you could hurt yourself. You could pay off all this debt, save all this money, pay off this debt, and now you have no money for a down payment, or not enough for the down payment for that right house that you want, that you actually qualify with your income on. So many intricacies that are involved on this. So I always tell people, real estate agents, great ones like Keri that I work with, please have your clients, if they want to do it, talk to the mortgage professional as soon as possible. The earlier, the better. And then we can figure out where it is. Like I said earlier, it could be 1 year from now, 2 years. It doesn't matter the time frame. Just figure out where you're at. A lot of people are thankful for that. And we help them structure that. And a lot of people, too, you run their credit and go, oh my God, my credit's not, I thought it was so much better. Okay, well, we know a great, credit repair company. Let's get you involved. Let's get that credit score up so we can get you in a better spot. A lot of people, they might be, it happened to me personally. I was a victim of identity theft. I had no idea. I went to go buy a car. I'm like, whoa, I was a victim of identity theft. It took me 8 months to clear it up.
Wow, that's incredible. You never know until you look, I guess. Keri, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, as far as it's really about getting your finances in order and saving and looking at what you need to pay off if you don't need to pay it off, looking at your credit. There's so many times people just don't realize, they think, I don't want to speak to somebody until I'm ready to buy a house. But Jason, the lender is the most important part. Before they even start shopping, it's not about what they want. It's really where their financials are, because what they want to purchase is about their monthly payment. It's not about the price tag on it. So we need to look at what their comfort level is there and how to get there. And there's people now that are doing things like gifts from family members, so they need to know how long the funds need to be in the account, or they're moving money around. So it's important to make sure you're prepared. So preparation is the biggest thing, and then watching better ways to make your credit tip top for when it comes time to get the loan.
Very cool. Good. That's great advice.
I don't know if you guys heard of this term. It's called the 5 Ps. I heard this in college. Prior planning prevents poor performance.
Ooh,
right.
I like that.
So is it fail to prepare to fail?
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
I love it. Very good. So we're coming to the end of this, but I have a question I ask most of the guests, and so I'm going to ask it to you, both of you. At some point, we're going to come out of COVID-19. We're all going through it right now. It's affecting everybody in a different way. We are going to get through it. There are lights at the end of the tunnel, and we're running towards it. And there's going to be a new normal. What is your message of positivity that you can give to the listeners on what it's going to be like when we come out on the other side of this? Jason?
That's a very good question. Very solid. I just tell people to hang in there, stay positive. Don't always hear, don't always listen to, how I put this, don't always believe what you hear. There's a lot of stuff going on that, you kind of got to not maybe always watch the news much enough to understand it, but, definitely just try to, be positive in, whether that's, I think Keri mentioned it great earlier with that wheel and that spoke, in your spirituality, in your family, in your work life, and try to stay as balanced as you can, as hard as it is. And I think just be grateful and thankful. And I think if you have that right attitude, as many people have read books, right, that are successful books, the self-help books, a lot of it has to do with your enthusiasm, your energy, and your positivity. You'll get through this, right? That would be my 2 cents.
Oh, I love that. How about you, Keri?
Yeah, that's beautiful. My goal, what is it, Tuesday today? Yeah, Sunday when I was thinking about what was going on, and I don't watch the news regularly. I think it's just like a mind suck, and it's so biased, but I have been recently, and it's been interesting. I'm like, this channel says one thing, and the other channel says something that's completely opposite, but they're talking about the same. I was like, what is wrong with the world? But in hearing all that and everything they're doing, like open up the economy, keep it closed, everyone's got an opinion based on what they're doing. So if they can't feed their kids and they need to go back to work to do that, then they're going to obviously want want the economy reopened. But if there's someone who works from home that's scared of getting sick, they're not going to want the economy reopened, and they're going to be mad at the people that do. And you're getting this like hate and this negativity. And I think the focus is for people to be empathetic and just to know that everybody's going through something different. They're probably not sharing it with you. They're not sharing their finances up front. They don't want to share what they're really going through, how they may be hurting. Maybe they have loved ones that are hurting, whether they're going into debt right now, or maybe they're doing really well and getting bonuses. But this situation is impacting everyone around the world so differently. So I think we need to just be easy on each other right now and understanding of both sides of the coin, and just ease into this with a lot of empathy is my big word for getting through this.
Oh, I love that. That's great answers. Wonderful. Thank you. I think mine, I mentioned this once before, is having being grateful for the things that we have. I have young children, and it's been challenging at times, but we've certainly all become more grateful for the things that we have rather than the things that we want, because we don't necessarily need them. And we have a lot. Everyone has a lot. And you really realize that right now. And family and everything else is so important right now. So wonderful answers. Thank you, guys. We're coming to the end. I just want to thank you again. Keri White, thank you so much. Jason Vanderpoort, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. My name is James Langridge. You've been listening to another BABC LA podcast. Tune in again soon, and there'll be another one. Thank you.